You are now entering the Thick Goddess Energy Morning Show. We in the building. High priestess in the building, didn't let my fears kill me. Transmuted my pain in that cleanse in the rain. Found out I was working and I conquered my demons. I accepted my purpose and the goddess I became.
Right, or we try to, because we're in fear of what happens. You know, do we want our kids to be a person who feels left out, feels different, feels weird? It's hard.
And
you tell everyone
you're trying
who you are, right? But then at the same time, as a parent, it's like you don't want to have to worry about your kid being bullied and picked on.
But you do damage when you're pushing them to be something that they're not. When you clearly see that that is not them. Because, you know, my grandsons are very sensitive. Now, I don't know if it's a Scorpio thing or not, but they're very sensitive. And that's something that my daughter had to learn to allow them to feel their emotions, to be in their emotions, that their emotions were overpowering, that they in this moment were like crying about something to them that was very serious, even though she would suck it up, like man up or whatever. And she's actually very different with them now about it. But that was something for a long time she would be getting on them. And I'm like, you can't look to them. Same thing like I used to look to you. I can't look at you the same. You can't treat them how you feel like they should be tougher. What if they can't? What if they're soft? Maybe they're just very sensitive, but you're going to push them to disconnect from their emotions because you can't handle it. Because somehow, and I do get the fears of it, naturally, the fears of it. But if we constantly do what everybody else has done, we're no better than fucking society as the people around us, right? You know, I have a niece who was very bisexual from the beginning, and she was so terrified to fucking say it, to just be who she wanted to be, and so terrified to say it. It's like, I think when she told me, it was like, okay, I don't know what she expected from me, but I've always been the one that's like, okay, so you want you know what I mean? I've never been that person because I know how it feels to feel like you don't belong. And I know how it feels like to try to be in a world that you just don't fit in. No matter how much you try, no matter how much you want to, it's just not you. At the end of the day, it's just not you. And that's why I would always end up kind of being a loner because I just never in. I just never got the shit that people were doing. And I just never, it just felt so like, this is not me. Like I liked the stars and I loved the moon, and people would look at me like I was fucking crazy. Or if I talked about shit that I saw, they would look at me like, you know, whatever, you know, that kind of like, sure. So I always just like there was a lot of things I had no one to talk to about. I either had to talk about the things that people thought were cool or just kind of go along with it. You know, I'll just go along and not be me. So I've watched the generations even with my daughter. Now with my daughter, I was different because I would push her to speak her mind. I would say, speak your mind. I'd rather you speak your mind and get in trouble than versus you being silent and feeling like you don't have a voice. Now, did that bite me in the ass? Of course. Of course. But I still rathered her speak her mind than just not have a voice. Because me as a kid didn't have a voice. I shut down. I didn't say anything. There was a lot of times I should have said shit. I didn't say shit. So I didn't want her to be like that. I would always say, you guys talk, say it, you know, because the thing, especially like with little boys being gay, I'm like, that's your biggest fear. There's a lot more fucking fears out there for boys in general than that being the worst fucking fear. And I see people that it's like you will have your child running around here talking about gang shit, guns and fucking drugs and money and this shit, but you worried about him being gay? Like, wait, what? I feel like a lot of it is just kind of like, y'all priorities, come on, you know. I get the fears, like I said, I never had to fear about boys because I had girls, and my grandsons, those fears kicked in. They are, well, two of them are darker skinned. So that fear of them did kick in like, damn,
Mhm.
we do, raising them different. And because I was a hands-on grandma and I'm not like just, oh, I'm all ghetto or all white or this. I'm just me. I'm just fucking me. And so me taking care of the kids, they were just kids. They didn't have to be anything. It wasn't like your black kids, it's not your Hispanic kids. You're just kids, right?
Mhm.
So then when people would come around like family and friends, especially like when their dad came back in their life for a moment, it was like these little white kids. And it's like, wait, what? So they're little white kids because they're not running around here talking about drugs and guns and shit because they like Paw Patrol, you know what I mean? Because they're watching cartoons and they don't know grown up shit. They're little white kids. Like, really? That's the mindset we're gonna bring in? What? But I would hear from people because they were just kids. What? Because their pants ain't hanging off their ass? Somehow they're less than,
Mhm.
because they don't speak slang. Okay. So we're white kids? We're what? So that shit used to piss me off with my grandsons. That really did piss me off. Because it started to be a constant thing. And it was just like, no, they're just kids. Why do they need to be anything? I get at a certain time you do have to in this society talk to them, but I don't think any child in the first 5 to 6, 7 years should have to worry about their fucking skin color or the fact of being a boy, a girl, or whatever, because they're not thinking about that. If they're just able to be kids, they just play. And I would always say my grandsons were able to just be like those, like that kid on Toy Story, where he'd be in his room and all the fucking shit. That was them. They'd have a whole fucking scenery, imagination, and because they were just allowed to be kids. Not There was nothing else put on them but brush your teeth, bathe, play, learn. You know what I mean? That's it, and be loved. So I kind of have a problem when people do that, when it's like you're too white or you're too this or you're too that. That kind of gets on my nerves because I was one of those people who just, I wasn't white enough. I wasn't black enough. I wasn't Spanish enough. So it was just like, when does it end? When does the trying to be something? And it's like, I'm none of these. I guess I don't belong anywhere. It's kind of fucked up. And my mom, was like, you're Spanish. And it's like, did you fucking teach me Spanish? Well, apparently you didn't want me to be Spanish because I had a slick ass mouth. Like, oh, so we Spanish now, right? Oh, you got a problem with me with braids? And my
Oh,
mom would say like shit, like, Mom, you racist as fuck, lady. Like, if I wanted you black, I would have been with a black man. Mom, you are black. What is like? Oh, okay, really? Okay, we're in a black neighborhood, Mom, but okay, you keep telling yourself that. I think people from back in the day do not realize the shit that comes out of their mouth.
mm-mm.
They just say shit and don't realize it because, I just was not the kid. I would always have something slick, some slick ass remark to say back, like, oh, now you want me to be Spanish. You didn't teach me a lick of Spanish. And she'd be like, oh, I didn't teach you Spanish because there was no one to talk to. Like, Mom, you could have talked to me. You could have been into Spanish. My dad would have been English. I would have been fucking bilingual. Boom.
Take your charger. I'm looking for my iPad charger. The iPad charger? I scrolled up to this because I was charging it for my iPad. I have
So
no.
I do think we got to do better, y'all. Do better, especially, with your kids, you could start there. Sometimes we don't agree with people's decisions. Sometimes we don't agree with, who they are. But sometimes it's who they are, you know? If you really don't like somebody's character or who they are, then fucking disconnect from that person. There's nothing that's like, well, I got to deal with this person because I think that's where we go, all the forcing. We're forcing shit. We want someone to be something else, because of our fears. And then we're projecting our fears on the people around us. And it's like, you know, I
I think
get them.
some
They're
people.
not real, you know.
I think for some people, it's like I think it's all has to do too with the kind of person you are, because there's some people who are extremely affected by not feeling like they fit in, to
Right.
the point of depression or social anxiety. And then you have some people who are more like me, and I'm like, well, I don't have to fit in. I just have to go to work, put on this little face today for the next 6 hours, and then I'm out of there, and I'm okay with being that or not fitting in. And then you have some people who are the extremists, like my daughter, who's like, I'm just going to be me wherever I go. My titties are going to fucking hang, and I'm going to look like this, and I'm going to have a crop top, and my rolls are going to hang out, and people are going to love it. Not blue hair today, pink hair, like I don't fucking care. And
Right.
she gets all the stares in the world, and then she's like, I don't fucking care. And then you have some people who are like social anxiety to the core, because they feel like no matter where they go or what they do, they hate high school, they hate school, they hate their neighborhood, they hate their friends, they don't have any
Yep.
friends. So I think a lot of it depends on too just that kind of personality type that you have, because some people are slim to none affected by what the world thinks, and some are affected 100% by
Yeah.
what the world thinks.
Yeah. I agree on that. I think you need to find your people. Find your people and find that wherever that may be. I know with kids it's different because they're trying to learn who the fuck they are in whatever generation they're trying to come up in, right? So it gets a little crazy. School is horrible. As soon as they get to, I think it's like middle school, it's like downhill from there. I think middle school is horrible because that's where the cliques really kick in.
Mhm.
Elementary, I think the kids are just kids. As soon as they fucking get to middle school, now it's like the cliques kick in. You got to figure out where it is. And even though I was very popular, I never truly fit in nowhere. And it's crazy because I had a lot of people who liked me, but I didn't like being in the cliques and crews that everybody had. So I was very known, very popular, but I just was still the loner. I was still the loner, just trying to fucking get by until I don't know. Like I just was very depressed inside. You couldn't tell, because I was good at just making other people laugh and being that person to joke and have fun and sing and dance and play, so you couldn't tell that I was in this energy of just not wanting to be there and not fitting in to whatever the fuck this society shit is, right? I think you just got to find where you belong, and hopefully you can find where you belong. I just think as people around us, if we could be a little bit more non, take away the judgment, stop trying to force people to be who we want them to be. Now you can't, there's kind of a catch 22, right? We can be like, go be who you want to be, but remember, not everybody's going to accept you, right?
Mhm.
So with that being said, you want to have that blue hair, a lot of people aren't going to hire you with that blue hair, right? And that's a decision and that's a choice. Your options are limited. And I think especially as parents, we all want, like, we want the best for our children, but again, it's their lives and we're trying to save them from shit that's not even our choice to save them from, right?
I think
um
that's important what you just said. On top of telling our children that they can be who they want to be or be who they are, I think it's important to also let them know that, though, like, but if you choose to be blue hair, don't care. There's a lot
right.
of people who are not going to hire you. There's a lot of people who are going to look at you, and there's a lot of people who aren't going to accept you, because the way you present yourself and your demeanor sometimes isn't meant for everybody, just like everybody's not meant for you. And I think we have to teach our kids that they can't be mad at that. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yep.
have to be. I know it sucks to say, well, society shouldn't judge me, society shouldn't look at my blue hair, they should look at what I can do, but that's not reality at the end of the day, right? It's just not reality.
Well, there
And so,
are places that will accept you. You have to find those places.
but that's it.
You're
You know,
yeah.
we got to teach our kids too that it's okay to be who you are, but then don't be mad when everybody doesn't accept you. But that's the
Right.
same way as us as people, where we might be the people who love the people with the blue hair, the rainbow hair, or whatever it is, or all the tattoos. And we might not like Susie, who's got the little, the collar and the tights and her little skirt and her preppy outfit and her blonde hair. And, so it goes both ways to where not everybody is for everybody. And I feel like sometimes we get really stuck in being an authentic self and being who we are, and then being upset that the world isn't accepting us for who we are when we're not meant
Right.
to be accepted by everybody and everything. And the same way
Right.
we're not meant to accept everybody and everything.
Right. I think that was one of my biggest lessons in this life is just understanding that not everybody was going to like me, and that's okay. Like, because
Yep.
when I was especially younger, I used to be like, how you just don't like me? I'm fucking fun. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
loving. I'm fucking loyal and down as fuck. Like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean? Especially when I was younger, I was crazy. Like, you called me up, like, let's go fight a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, oh, best friend, you need me, let's roll, I got you. You know what I mean? Like, so it was just like, what do you mean you don't like me? Because that shit would piss me off when I was younger. Like, what the fuck you mean you don't like me? The fuck?
Yeah.
And like literally, this has been my life. People could not name why they didn't like me. They just didn't like me. And it'd be like, yeah, bitch, because you don't have a reason. So in my life, I had to realize that no, people, you're gonna piss people off. Just being you is gonna piss other people off. And it was just like, oh, okay. Because before, a lot of the hair color and shit, when it was still kind of rockerish, I had the bright ass red hair and tattoos and stuff in my piercings. I used to have face piercings, um, you know, and I was just like, why do I need to change myself to fit into corporate America? And that was one of the things that used to bother me. And I used to be like, this is not me. If I have to take out my piercings, if I have to cover up my tattoos, which I love tattoos, I've loved them, my whole life. I got my first one when I was 18. I got my tongue pierced. I just, I got into piercing. So it was like, if this is me, why do I have to change that to fit into corporate America? And I used to try my hardest, like, okay, I need a job, I need this, that, and the third, even with healthcare. Now you kind of see lab techs and other people with tattoos, but there's certain tattoos. Everything else has to be covered up, right? So then I would start getting tattoos where I could cover it up. But it's just like, again, you got to remember if this is what you choose to do, right? If this is the life and who you are, yeah, not everybody's going to accept you. You will have to cover it up to go to their facility, their job, their restaurant, or whatever the fuck it is, because that's their policy, their
Mhm.
requirements. Um, being who you are doesn't mean that you get to walk in every place and they're okay with you. Like, that's not what it
Mhm.
means. That you get to be you and you find the people who do appreciate you. But there will always be someone cutting their eyes at you, looking at you a certain way. Coming into this, what I do, and especially going live, I have a couple people, why don't you dress like this? Or why don't you um, stop cursing? That's been a big thing. And it's like, why the fuck do I have to change how I talk? You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, oh, this, that, and the third in language. And I'm like, all these words are just words. People have made them what they are, right? I'm one of those rebel. I've been a rebel my whole fucking life, right? So I'm like, you're gonna judge me because somehow I said fuck or I said damn or I said shit, and so now all of a sudden, less people want to deal with me. Then that's okay. I think that's where you have to be like, oh, I had someone tell me, well, you'll have less people like wanting to sponsor you, or whatever, and I'm like, okay, so what? The right people will come that appreciate me and
Mhm.
respect and I'm not changing myself for a dollar sign. That's not gonna fucking happen. I've never
Yeah.
been that person. Like, take your money and shove it up your ass. You know what I mean? Like, that's not gonna happen. And I think that's where you have to make your decision, your morals, or your kind of like, this is me. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not getting, certain shit just because you see me with tattoos or you see me cursing. If that's what you want to judge and you think I'm a lower person because I used a couple curse words, then you weren't worth my time and effort, you know?
Mhm.
And so it's like, okay, goodbye. But that's kind of like you just have to get into that point to understand, like, not like, oh fuck you, I'm gonna show it in your face, but just like know that you have less people because you're not trying to fit into what society says is
Mhm. Mhm.
and it's okay, But That's my take on it. I've been a rebel since the day I was born.
Yeah, you just do shit because somebody told you no. Like they said no. They said what?
You told me no? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, let me show. I used to do that shit at school. You can't wear these open-toed shoes. I'd be at school with my sandals on.
Like fuck it. They said no. They said I couldn't go where? Okay, I'll be at church tomorrow. Like, what the fuck, bitch? No, it's fine.
Church.
I'll be at church tomorrow.
One of my first department manager jobs, I was working in the receiving, so I wasn't even on the floor, and I had a
Mm,
piercing right here. And the manager, he had an issue with it. He would always say something like, "You got to take it out." So I would take the ball off, and it would still have
mhm.
the little piece hanging out
The
because I'm like,
phone
I'm not taking it all the way off. You can't really see it. And one of the head general managers would always come in and he would make a point to point it out to me that he would see it. And but he would joke, like he would say it, but he would joke. He would never say it in a rude manner. And then you would just see my manager's face like, oh, you know, this fucking girl. But because I bust my ass in there, they didn't fire me. You know what I mean? Because I would handle my, you couldn't tell me shit because I was like that. I come to work, I bust my ass, I fucking knock this shit out. What are you gonna tell me? And that's how my attitude used to be. Like, fuck that shit. I'm not taking out my piercings. I'm not taking out my
yeah.
tongue ring. Told me to. Not telling you guys to do that. I'm not saying do that because you might get fired.
Yeah, I've always had to take this one out whenever I work. Um, almost everywhere.
Right. And I
And I've
never used
just
it because
done
even
it.
with
I've
the
just done
medical,
it because if I need the job, like seriously, it's really not that big of a deal.
me
For
personally, I don't feel like that changes who you are, a piercing. So me
no,
as a business owner, of course, you want to have blue hair, you want to have piercings. I don't give two shits.
it's
That would never
that's
make or break.
it's not a make or break thing too. But I've also just learned like um, just like it's not my business, right? I'm asking to work for you. You're not asking me to
Right,
work for you. You know what I mean?
right,
So if you tell me to fucking take it out, I'll take it out. But I also didn't realize too that there is a lot of cultures that see piercings and tattoos as sins or just
right.
dirty or certain things. So I kind of get it. Now when I was a nurse's aide and I worked in the nursing home, I
Hmm.
understood because old people they lived back in the day and they didn't do the tattoos and the piercings so it was hard
Well,
for them to get used to or be comfortable with.
right.
There's
Well,
some
medical is a little bit different because I saw actually more older men, the seniors, who had tattoos because of being in the
yeah,
Navy and the
the
Army and stuff.
Navy and the Army and stuff.
It wasn't normal, but the men had tattoos and they would see my tattoo, especially like this one. And they would be showing me theirs, and chopping it up about their tattoo, but you wouldn't really see it on the women. Now, medical, I understand about piercings and stuff, especially where you work, because when you're working with geriatrics and people with dementia and shit, they will pull on that. That's why you're not going to have dangly earrings and chains. Plus, you're working with people who are sick or ill, their bodily fluids. You don't want all your shit all over the place anyway, right?
Yeah,
I get that. I understand that. So when it comes to some facility stuff, it's a no-brainer. I ain't trying to fight nobody about that. It's like I get it. But when they get to the part of, having to cover the tattoo, again, I may not like it, but if it's not my establishment, not my fucking business, what am I going to say?
yeah,
You know, all you
yeah.
can do is, all right, let me get a sleeve,
Yeah, that's why I've been pretty good at trying to keep my tattoos places where I know I can cover it if need be. And it's not about, for me, it's not about conforming, but like I'm not going to argue about it. If I need the paycheck, I need the paycheck. And if I want to make my
right,
own rules, then I better figure out my own shit, right? I better fucking get my own company or do my own thing. So I get it. I have never made a big, huge fight about it. I don't think.
I just, like some people like the girls who didn't even work with patients, that had like what's that called? Like the
The,
big,
the structure things.
not the not the, I can't remember the name, but it's like a circle. It'll
Yeah,
be
the
stretched.
ones that stretch it out.
And so, like, I remember when we got bought out, they were making her cover that with a band-aid. And I was like, she doesn't even work with patients. Why? She's in, you're like, why are we making her cover that? What is that going to do with paperwork and phones? You know what I mean? Like, to
Mm-hmm.
me, I was just like, that shit is overboard. Or someone who answers your phones can't have their nails over a certain length. That person doesn't even fucking work with patients. Like now with patients, I get it. The nail thing, I understand bacteria, all of that stuff. But there was just some stuff that I felt like corporate America just nitpicks too much on some stuff. And that's where I knew because we had just got bought out when COVID was coming in. We had just got bought out by a bigger company than what we had. I've saw my company be bought out like 4 or 5 times, but this time it was like a huge, bigger company, and I just knew when they were coming in and talking about all the new procedures, I just knew it was time. It was time because there was just no way, I was just at that point where I was just like, I'm tired of being who everyone else wants me to be, and I'm not happy here. Like, so this is where I need to go do something else. And that's true. You need to figure it the fuck out. So just you guys know, is the more I push on and I do plan to have my businesses, I'll hire y'all. Just know that. You can come with piercings. Most of the shit you can you
I
can
gotta
fire
get
your
rid of
break.
mine.
You don't fuck up my work.
I gotta get rid of some. I'm gonna get rid of this one. I think I don't want to be
Yeah.
40 with a mouth piercing.
No. You know what? I would
No.
never go back and get I would never go back and get like these piercings. I had them for a long time. I think I had this one that was right here for like a good 10 to 12 years. And I got it out because it had fucked up my gums. And like let's be realistic, some of this shit does fuck up your gums, you guys. I mean it just does. So it messed up my gums right in the front. And because of that, I ended up taking it out. My tongue piercing, I had probably for damn near 20 years. Okay. Probably 20 years. I took that one out again because the dentist was like, it's hitting your teeth. The older you get, let's be honest. You know what I mean? I don't want to walk out with, missing teeth. So I was like, do I really need this tongue piercing anymore? No. It was cool for 20 years. I'm okay without it.
I